I'm ready to roll and I'm
Okay,
excited to talk to you. I've been listening to some of your interviews. I think you have a great candor. I love it.
great, excellent. Well, I'm looking forward to getting into all of the aspects and peeling back the onion layers. So let's begin with this. I thought I was going to put this question to rest, but I think it really is relevant, which is about COVID. I was
Mhm.
really thinking 2025, I'm done, but I think it's done so many things seismically to all of us personally and professionally. So, how many of those waves from that time period are you still feeling in this new year we're in?
Well, if there is anyone to ask about COVID, it's a designer.
Yeah,
Because let me tell you, there was a huge shift that happened in our industry with COVID. A number of things that had never happened before coming together. Of course, we all know what happened. We were all inside. So everyone wanted their house to look great, of course. But what also happened, which was really interesting, is our very delicate chain. Here's a word that people never talked about before: chain, demand chain.
yeah,
All of a sudden, it started to fall apart.
yeah,
The ports have always been an issue for designers because all of the furniture, even the good stuff, it's coming. It's most of the frames are being built in Asia and being brought over here. Now, all of a sudden, we have this international problem going on, and ports, we couldn't get workers, people were sick, and higher demand than ever for home
yeah,
furnishings.
yeah.
So it created this huge clash. For me personally, it was really great.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I think there were industries where that happened. Yeah,
It was good, and it wasn't for me. A lot of people would say it was great because they got to sell a lot of furniture. That actually wasn't. It gave me an opportunity to really look at my business.
yeah,
I had a model where I was working with other designers and growing them and having them under my umbrella. And then COVID made me realize that that wasn't really what I wanted to be doing. I
yeah.
wanted to be with the clients. I wanted to be asking them the questions and leading them to their perfect room. So it really helped me figure that out. But also, people got a lot more understanding when it came to lead times.
Yeah,
It used to
yeah.
be like 6 weeks, and I would think, well, that's nothing in the home design industry. But then all of a sudden, we were waiting for everything for so long that people were like, oh, yeah, no big deal.
Yeah. I think that's the thing with kids that really I thought was very instrumental is this level of resilience and accepting things because there's an impatience. Like you said, there's no way that you're going to be able to reevaluate your life and your professional world until you have a minute to breathe. And we move so fast, especially in design. There's industries that just move at an unbelievable pace. So if you don't have that time to be reflective, how are you going to do it? I remember before this pandemic began, I was watching a hockey game with my son trying to get him into hockey. And
Don't do it. I have a
somebody,
hockey player.
okay,
I love it, but it's a
yeah,
lot.
yeah,
Early
absolutely.
mornings, very cold.
Oh yeah, forget about it. So the one of the players had an aneurysm and
Mm.
they stopped the game and it was like halfway through and I was just like they just stopped this game, but little did I know we were heading a month and a half away into this realm of everything going away. So it's all relative, and
Mhm.
I think for the kids knowing that things aren't going to happen, it just kind of set them up a little bit to have more patience and empathy in their life.
Yeah, that is a great observation. We can't ignore the fact that a lot of good things came out of it. On the design industry side, we have a lot of information now, and they have really refined a lot of the practices. So it's a lot easier for people to get things now.
Yeah. So let's get into the heart and soul of what you do on a daily basis. And to do that, I want to put you in front of a bunch of grade school kids. Let's say 10, 11-year-olds. It's career day. And one of the kids in the back of the room is curious and is like, what do you do for a living? How do you answer
Yes.
them?
Well, I have a 10-year-old, so
Okay.
so that's perfect.
Yeah.
Um, I love my job is to work with people to help them decide how they want to live their life the best way.
Yeah.
And I do that by helping them create the space that they live in. Because really, what's more important than your home? It's where
Yeah.
you wake up every day. So I get to work with people, I get to know them, I get to figure out how they live. And then we pick the things: the furniture, the lighting, the walls. We pick all the things that will be best for their lifestyle. We order them, and then I work with contractors to make it all come together.
So it's interesting because it is essential. Our homes are kind of the lifeblood of our worlds, and people do kind of tangentially design and do their things. But in the studies and the history that you've had with design, how essential and important is that in our physical and mental health ultimately?
So important. I'm so glad you brought this up because it is amazing how much you can change the way you feel just by what you see around you. And in the past, having a beautiful space felt really far out of reach for most people. A lot of people live in a partially finished space,
Yeah,
right? They move in, they have ideas, and then life happens. Life is busy, and it's hard to get all those things done. And if you're not working with a professional, you're doing this for the first, second, maybe third time, you don't have all the knowledge.
yeah.
So that's one of the reasons that I started putting together my book, because it does have a huge impact on the way people feel, and everyone can have a beautiful space with just a little bit of information.
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you this. When you were in the third grade, what was your dream? Was it always to become a designer? What was kind of that dream early on?
I actually have a funny story for you. Well, I always wanted to be an actress.
Okay.
My whole life, wanted to be an actress, moved to New York after college because my parents said I had to go to college first.
Huh?
Moved to New York after college and started going to different auditions, and then I realized I didn't like being a starving artist. So
Yeah.
I realized I want to live my life a certain way, so I had to get a real job.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting into pharmaceutical sales, which actually led me to design. But the funny story I wanted to share with you is when, not in third grade, but probably about seventh grade, I took an aptitude test.
Yeah.
And it was like, I think everyone took it in the grade, and you would fill out whatever survey, and then it would say what you should do as a career. And my number one match was interior designer.
Wow.
And you know what I thought? That's stupid. I thought, I don't want to do that. I actually remember thinking it's so unimportant, that design is just so, who cares
Yeah.
what's in your house? And of course, now I have a completely different take on it because I realize how much it changes the way I feel and how much it changes the way my clients feel.
So there's a show on HBO I was watching for a little while, and I don't know if you've heard of it, but there was this machine in the back of a hardware store, I believe, or a grocery store.
Yes.
Right. So they're spitting out all these things, and everybody's like, no. And then it's like, yeah. So it's kind of like that. Like there's a
Yes.
level of metrics and karma and whatever ESP electricity we all exist in that just
Exactly.
collide and know who
It
you
was in
are.
the ethers.
Weird. So weird. But you obviously had foundational elements that were planted in you early on from family life. Take me back to the beginnings. What do you think these seeds were that were planted that ultimately became design, becoming an author and an entrepreneur and helping people?
Well, there are so many different elements. First of all, my grandmother had an interior designer,
Okay.
and I remember watching him bring things, and I still think about him all the time.
Yeah.
He put grass cloth on their dining room walls. So, for those listeners who don't know, grass cloth is like a textured material that's woven, and then it goes up like wallpaper. And I remember at the age, I don't know, 6 or 7, touching it and looking at it and thinking, wow, this is so cool. As a kid, I was always rearranging my room. I always wanted to get that visual payoff. And my mom loves real estate. My mom always wanted to look at houses. We were always popping into different things. So it was definitely put in me from an early age. But so was the entrepreneurial aspect. My father's in sales, and he taught me everything is sales. It doesn't matter what you do in life, you're
Yeah.
doing a sales job.
Yeah.
That was a really valuable lesson that has applied to all the different careers that I've
Yeah.
taken on.
So let me ask you this. Who's been that ultimate hero for you on your career path? Someone that you've emulated, looked up to, that's helped you get to where you're at?
So I've been thinking about, there are a lot. But I'm going to say Jonathan Adler is a designer that he started as a potter. He started as just someone who wanted to make quirky little pottery pieces. And in this one interview I read, he said he pictured himself just kind of selling them in the rain at a craft market. You
Yeah.
know, like he did not have this huge, grandiose idea. Well, he's become really one of the kings of interior design. He makes this really funky, off the wall stuff that we hadn't seen before him and is still to this day. Many have tried to emulate what he does, but it's just so different.
Yeah.
And what I really admire is he's someone who simply found something he loved to do. He followed that path. He wasn't worried about the money or the business, and he's become incredibly successful, and
Right.
he still produces a product that really speaks to him,
Yeah.
not necessarily just what people want.
Yeah. So I'm curious, with what you're doing, anybody that's successful in their craft, there's risk. There's a level of you that has to step outside of yourself and do something that is very risky. What's the biggest risk that you've taken in your career?
Ooh, well, when I started as an interior designer, I left a very profitable job as a pharmaceutical sales rep. I
Yeah.
had a pretty sweet gig there with a company car, expense account, nice salary, all the stuff. And no one thought it was a good idea for me to leave that great job and try to start my own interior design firm. And really, I don't blame them. I
Yeah.
mean, looking back, it was a crazy thing to do,
Sure.
but obviously it paid off. And it honestly, it didn't even feel like a choice.
Yeah.
It felt like something I just had to do. There were times I'd look back and think, huh, that was pretty nice.
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah.
miss having that expense account. But now I can't imagine having done it any other way.
But the thing about, I mean, especially in movies and TV, there's always this, you got to find your passion, you got to find your place. There's so many people that don't do that. I would imagine that would have to be one of the more monumental moments of your life to find that you found what you wanted and you followed it. And even at the risk of having these creature comforts, does that ever kind of go through your mind on when things are
Absolutely.
tough?
Oh, absolutely. You know, there was a moment when I had told my husband and my parents, hey, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I'm leaving this job and I'm doing this. That it wasn't easy. And I remember crying on the floor in my attic. I was just like, I have no, and feeling like I have no other choice. And now I wake up and I think, wow, I really get to do my most favorite thing
Yeah.
and get paid for it. I get to go hang out with people I like,
Yeah.
talk about the things in their home, and shop
Yeah.
my favorite things.
Absolutely. So, what has been one of the maybe one of the more trying client experiences that you had that ended up being one of the more growth oriented things that really is seminal, that really turned out well, but you thought this doesn't look good?
That's a really, really good question because so for a while I was training designers and I would always tell them, know your client. Because at the end of the day, that's who it's about,
Yeah.
right? It's really about, I could design the most beautiful room, but if that client doesn't want to wake up in it
Yeah.
and have their coffee there, it has no value.
Yeah.
So I had a client that when I was just starting out, she said, I'll work with you. And it was kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
I would bring her stuff and she'd be like, "Ooh, and I love this and I love this and I love this." She loved everything. And I was like, how am I ever going to reel this in? And I was trying to figure out, how do I get her reined in? How do I actually get something done? How do I not get fired because her husband's annoyed that we're spending all this time
Yeah.
just playing?
Sure.
Um, and it was a really good lesson for me because it allowed me to really build the craft of being a designer. Is not just about picking out things, it's about figuring people out and talking with them. So it allowed me to ask all those questions, to say, okay, you like this. Do you like this do you want to wake up and have coffee here? Do you want it here? And it allowed me to really figure out how to ask all those questions, which go right into my book. I use all of these questions in my book to help people figure out how do they want to live in their space.
Yeah.
That client, I still work with her today. It's been
Nice.
15 years and she's become one of my best friends.
So you took this knowledge that you have in this career and you put it in your book. What has been
That's
one
the
of the best
idea.
responses that you've gotten from your book?
Well, so
Best
the
fan
book
letter.
is not officially out yet.
Okay, like maybe a review or anything that's happened, a response so far?
Yes, so I have some people have had some pre-reader copies,
Yeah,
and the response has been that it is like an encyclopedia that they can kind of dig
yeah,
into when they get to something. Now, I say in the book early on, I want you to, the idea is that this is for the living room design formula. It's
yeah,
just for one room. And that is really important because when a lot of people design, they do a little here, they do a little there, and nothing ever fully gets addressed.
yeah,
So I want people to feel empowered. Okay, it's 2025. I want a great looking living room. And I'm going to do this by taking these steps. The book walks people through every single step. I ask people to walk through it in order so that they can go through the entire design process.
yeah,
And when you walk through this in order, by the end, you will end up with a professionally finished living room.
yeah. So let me ask you this: how have you balanced the career that you have, meeting expectations of clients, developing as a human being? What is that drive and motivation every day for you to wake up to do all of that?
Wow, what a great question. I have always felt an internal drive, an internal ambition. And when I'm excited about the things I'm tackling, I can't be held back.
Yeah,
Of course, I'm sure we all feel this way, right? Then when I'm not excited, this is not to say I'm an Energizer bunny,
yeah,
right? There
right.
are plenty of times when it's hard. And then I just try to take it step by step. But every day, I really just try to focus on the thing that I can savor, the
Yeah,
thing that I'll enjoy that day.
yeah.
And when I go in that direction, the rest becomes a lot easier.
Sure. So, the one thing about life is that we go through this self-corrective thing. We won't do things that we know won't work, and we embolden what we do and new things. Ultimately, at the end of the day, if you had a dream tonight, ran into the 18-year-old version of you, you could give that young version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've lived, the wisdom you've accumulated. What advice would you impart?
I would tell that 18-year-old version, hold on, it's going to be a wild ride,
Uh-huh.
but stay focused on your joy.
Yeah.
Stay focused on the joy. Don't get bogged down in all those little details. As long as you follow that joy, you are going to find all the other good things that come along with it.
So speaking of all the good things, what are you the proudest of everything that you've accomplished and evolved into? What is it that rises to the top for you?
Well, it's been really fun to go through the journey of becoming this interior designer, building my firm, and getting on social media, amassing a following on TikTok, all these fun things. Um, I started working at QVC as their on-air expert, and that is a job that I absolutely love doing. But it's cheesy professionally. This book is really what I am most proud of because I've always wanted to do more. I can only help a few people at a time.
Yeah.
And my biggest problem has always been having too many clients.
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of spread the joy that interior design gives me to other people. And this book is allowing me to do that. It's
Yeah.
the living room design formula, and it is a very simple process. Anyone can pick up, anyone can go through the steps, and they too can feel that joy of having a beautiful living space.
When's the official release date? How can people get a pre-sale, get a copy? How do they do that?
So please check out LR for living room designformula.com. That's
Okay.
lrdesignformula.com. That webpage is going to take you to, you can put in your email to get notified when it releases, which will be the end of January 2025. Um, but that website will also stay up after that.
Okay.
And from that website, you can link to, I offer a free download for anyone who's interested in designing a gallery wall in their home. It's a really simple thing people can do.
Yeah.
Pictures, their family photos. It goes through what type of photos to select, what type of frames to select, what type of area to hang it in. It's a PDF they can download for free.
Okay.
So they can link to that from LR Living Room. That's lrdesignformula.com, or from my website, which is Barrickman Design. But
Okay.
Barrickman's hard to spell. So go to
Sure. Yeah.
lrformula.designformula.com.
And we'll have all that in the show notes. So
Thank you.
it's interesting. I talk to so many accomplished people that have done so many things, and it's always the book. The book is always the number one thing. You know what
Yep.
I'm saying? I
Yeah,
mean,
well,
because
it's
there's
many
so much that
years in the
goes.
making, I'm sure. For most people, it was for me.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that goes into it. It's a big deal. So let me ask you this: what is the best thing about living in Philadelphia?
Oh, I love living in Philadelphia. And I have to say, Philadelphia is such a beautiful city.
Sure.
It has so many monuments. It's gorgeous. We have some of the best parks,
Yeah.
best city parks. But you know, the best thing is the food. And I don't mean the cheesesteaks.
Right. Right.
I mean the fine dining. I used to live in New York. I was a pharmaceutical sales rep. I was going to the best restaurants supposedly in the world. And don't get me wrong, they were good.
Yeah.
But Philly, it's the food is so good here.
I
The
got to get up
restaurants
there.
are incredible.
I got to get up there. I've always joked around that
Come on down.
if I won the lottery and made some huge amount of money, I would go to each city and do like I would just fly to Philadelphia and get a cheesesteak
Oh,
and
I
come back
love
home.
that. That's
Just
so awesome.
go to places and do it and just be frivolous and why not? You know?
Well, you should do that now. I
Yeah,
mean, you're good at the podcasting. Just take it on the road.
just go. Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
everything's mobile. It's fine.
right.
We figured that out during COVID. So at the end of the day, everyone has this perception of you, family, friends, clients, all everyone that gets your book, that immerses in your world, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Who do I think I am, or who do I want to be? I'll tell you.
That's good. That's a good
This is what
twist.
I want people to think.
Uh-huh.
No, I would say, and it's kind of my life's mission, is I want to leave the world more beautiful than when I got here. I think beauty is the juice of life.
Yeah,
So I want to spread that beauty everywhere.
absolutely. Well, you are. So again, if anyone wants to pre-order, get involved with the book, hire you, any of the good business, where's the best place to go?
Go to lrdesignformula.com.
Okay. Excellent. Amy, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for your story, your energy. Best of
Thank
luck. Have a great
you.
2025.
You too. I appreciate your time. Thanks for
Absolutely.
having me.
Thank you.
Have a good one.